to Casually Dressed and Deep in Conversation with me, Greg Chalmers. CDDC is sponsored by Pizza Daddy, Lanarkshire's #1 American-style pizza parlour. To stay up to date on new flavours and promotions, then get connected on the socials. The Instagram handle is @RealPizzaDaddy and the website is www.thepizzadaddy.co.uk. To see what we're getting up to here at Casually Dressed, then you can find us on Instagram with the handle @CDDC Podcast, and on Twitter it is @PodcastCDDC. Also, as you're watching this on YouTube, then please hit those like and subscribe buttons. This morning I am joined by Paralympic gold medalist and former world #1 wheelchair tennis player, Gordon Reid. How you doing, mate?
Hello, I'm good. I'm not too bad, thanks. Yourself?
I'm alright, mate. I'm alright. So how's your lockdown going?
It's not too bad, really, to be honest. It's a bit of a weird situation for me because it's probably the longest I've been in one place for about 10 years. So, it's kind of a strange feeling, but yeah, it's okay. I can't complain. I think a lot of people are in a lot worse situations than I am, so
definitely.
Just getting through it. How about yourself? How's it going for you?
Alright, mate. I've saying to look, man, I've been in lockdown for like 10 months. Nobody really got out of my bed and my bad leg, so no, but I could say, to be honest, because of where I stay, it's not like inner city, so there's not, I can still kind of just walk about the woods and that, and nobody really bothers you. Whereas I think if you live in Glasgow, everyone's all on top of each other. Do you know what I mean? And I just think it's a lot more difficult for people who live in more built up areas.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad here. I'm in a block of flats, but I've got a wee balcony, so get outside.
Don't rub it in, mate.
I don't have a garden like a lot of people, but at least I can get outside, and the sun's been shining, hasn't it? So
yeah, that makes a big difference. It makes a big difference. So, are you still training at all, like in the house now? Are you still trying to keep yourself in tip-top condition?
Yeah, trying as much as I can. Obviously, can't play tennis at the moment. All tennis facilities are shut, so no tennis. But I've got some rollers, which is kind of like a treadmill for my wheelchair, so I can do sessions inside. And I've got a fair bit of equipment. Kind of probably see some of it behind me. I've got a lot of bar, weights, little makeshift home gym. So I'm trying to do as much as I can, just keep in best shape for when we can compete again.
Yeah. Do you think has there been any chat about when that's likely to be? Do you think it'll be this year? Do you think it'll be next year?
In terms of competition, I mean, the US Open's still planning on going ahead.
Really?
Which is start of September. They've not cancelled yet, surprisingly. But I think Arthur Ashe, which is their centre court, has been used as a morgue at the moment.
No way.
And like some of the facilities there are being used for like hospitals and stuff. So
jeez,
I can't really see us playing a tennis tournament there in a few months. But yeah, so I think to be honest, best case scenario, I think we'll be back at the end of the year, maybe start of next year.
It's it's funny, like I was talking to Luke about this, and he was saying the same thing. It's just with the Olympics and stuff like that as well. I know it's been moved back a year, but it really, for a lot of athletes, especially ones that are at the end of their career, not like you, but at the end of their career, it's moving these events back is really it's a hit for these athletes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I know, yeah, like maybe Luke and some other people who are considering about winding down their careers. The Olympics is probably the final farewell and the big kind of bang out their sport. So it changes their whole life plans. Really, I was speaking to Robbie Rennick, who's one of the guys that used to be a Scottish swimmer. He works up at Stirling Uni now, where I train. Just when this was all kind of starting to kick off before the lockdown and stuff, and then he was saying that he knows a few guys that had planned retirement straight after the games. They had job opportunities lined up, and they'd accepted these jobs to go into just a normal working life. And people like that, what are they going to do, because that opportunity might not be there a year later, but
yeah,
they're going to give up the chance to play in another Olympics or Paralympics. So yeah, it's difficult.
That is difficult. So what I wanted to get into, first of all, Gordon, I've known you for a long time, mate, but I don't really know how you get into tennis. And so take us back. How did you get into it? You come from a family of tennis players, is that right?
Yeah, so I mean, all my family play a bit of tennis. To be honest, I don't really remember the first time I went on a court, like a eureka moment. I don't really remember that. I was pretty young, I think, so it was a long time ago. But I remember playing short tennis actually down at the old school in the front. I remember playing short tennis in the winter in there, just with the little mini tennis nets and sponge balls, and just loving that. And then I think when the weather got a little bit better and the kind of outdoor season started, and I must have been about six or seven. I was out there and I was just playing as much as I could. Yeah, my sister Emily, she's a couple of years older than me. She used to play, and my cousin Holly, and my mum and dad used to play a little bit. They were members at Hillsborough Tennis Club as well. And then yeah, my little brothers, they're a couple of years younger than me, they started playing as well. So it was quite a nice family thing that we all used to go along and do it together.
Ah, cool. So how did you find the transition from tennis into wheelchair tennis as far as technique and stuff like that is concerned?
I mean, as far as technique and stuff, it's pretty similar because it's just tennis at the end of the day, just in a slightly different format. So probably the biggest change for me was when I was playing on my feet. I used to play with a double-handed backhand, like you see some of the Anna Marias. Whereas when you're in the chair, it's impossible to do that because if you try and swing with both arms, you've got wheels underneath you. Your body's working in the opposite direction as the wheels, so you'd be all over the place. So I basically had to learn a whole new shot with my backhand. But the rest of it was pretty easy to transfer. Obviously, apart from the movement was something that took a long time to learn.
So did you take to it quite quickly then? Like it wasn't like were you just good at it more or less immediately?
Yeah, I was pretty decent at it because learning to play tennis is hard.
Yeah.
Learning to move a wheelchair is hard, but trying to learn them both at the same time. Yeah. I've watched a lot of people try, and it's really tough, because they're both two really intricate skills, and you're trying to learn them both at the same time. So luckily I knew to some extent one of them already, so I kind of had a head start on a few people that had just been starting.
Mm-hmm. So see, for people who don't know, what are the differences as far as the rules are concerned between wheelchair tennis and tennis?
So really simple, really. Obviously, apart from the obvious that we're sitting in chairs, the only rule difference between you watching a game of tennis and a game of wheelchair tennis would be that we get two bounces of the ball.
Okay.
So the first one has to go inside the confines of the court, as a regular tennis match, and then the second one can go anywhere. And out with that, really, everything else is the same. The scoring system, the court size, the balls, the net height, everything else is exactly the same.
Right, okay. So, when you were growing up, and you're saying you took to wheelchair tennis really quite quickly, at what point did you realise, do you know what, this is going to be my profession?
Good question. Probably around the time I was leaving school.
Oh really?
I started playing. I started playing the sport when I was 13, and then throughout kind of high school at Hermitage, I was starting to travel a little bit. After probably a year of playing, I was traveling a little bit internationally, playing like junior events and having like junior camps around Europe. And I've been picked up by the LTA's sort of performance, like sort of development program, where they kind of try to find talented players and bring them through. So I was getting supported from a really young age by them. And then I think when I was kind of doing my hires, I did, when I was 15, 16, whilst in my hires, I was trying to qualify for the Paralympics in Beijing. So it was kind of like I was leading a double life.
Yeah.
1 week I'd be home studying and just being a young kid like everybody else at school, and then all of a sudden I'd be going off to all sorts of places around the world and competing and being surrounded by adults and playing against men, literally men against boys. So it was a kind of weird situation, and I ended up, the school actually, Hermitage, were really supportive, and they let me do 3 hires over instead of 5 over a longer period, so it was just less intense, the schoolwork, and I could focus on the sport as well. So yeah, it was a weird kind of scenario, but it was something that I really enjoyed. And yeah, it was probably when I was leaving school, I thought, right, I can do this full time now, and this can be a profession.
So how old were you at Beijing then?
I was 16.
Wow, man.
Yeah, I was 16.
That must have been like eye-opening. Would probably be an understatement. So, what? So you were playing against adults over there. Did you get a fright with the standard, or had you already been smashing all the guys anyway?
Well, I definitely hadn't been smashing anybody at that point. I'd been getting smashed left, right, and centre. But no, I think I'd been travelling a fair bit, and I'd seen the level of the top players, so I knew what I was up against. And to be honest, for me at that age, 16, at that stage in my career, it was just an experience for me. I'm sure Luke mentioned it when you chatted to him, but the Olympics and the Paralympics is like no other event in the world. The scale of it, sheer scale of it, and the fact that you've got all the different sports from all these countries all over the world, mixing and all competing at the same time in the same place. It's something that's impossible to recreate. And I think one of the biggest things for me, still not being, I hadn't been disabled for that long at this point. I'd only had a disability for about 4 years, and going to the Paralympics and being surrounded by other disabled people with a range of different disabilities and abilities is something that kind of blew my mind. You'd go into, you'd be walking around the village, and you'd see the blind football teams who are all walking around in like a conga. Basically, they've got their coach at the front who can see who's guiding them, and they're all holding each other's shoulders behind, and it's like a trail that they're going through. They're walking to get lunch, or they're walking to their bus to get into the venue. You'd go into the food hall, which is like just a massive air hanger. It's huge, it's massive, and you've got all different types of food from all over the world. And you've got guys there with no arms who are eating their lunch with chopsticks in their toes.
What? Really?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So they got no arms, so they're literally there with chopsticks wedged between their toes, and they've got their feet going up and feeding themselves lunch.
Wow.
It's like you're sitting there the first day going, what the hell is going on here? But it's incredible. I mean, it's so eye-opening.
Oh, aye.
And it just reinforces kind of like a lot of the values that the Paralympic has. That when somebody gets a challenge put in front of them, or a barrier put up in front of them, they find their way around it, and it's amazing. It was really inspiring for me as a young kid to see that.
So take me to London 2012, right? So home games. Do you think, how big an impact do you think all the para sports had with 2012 being such a success? Do you think it opened a lot of people's eyes to, like you were saying, all these incredible people that are just breaking down all the barriers and stuff like that, getting past their disability to excel in their sport?
Yep. Yeah, I think I get asked this question less now, which I think is a good sign, because it means that people are starting to understand it now, without the need to ask the question. But it is a good question. It's an interesting one, because if I look back at the Paralympic Games that I've been at, Beijing, to me, I was still young, but to me it was still a bit like, it's nice, guys in wheelchairs getting to play a bit of sport.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Well done for getting out of bed in the morning.
It's a bit condescending, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit condescending, and it was very much still a bit like, it felt like a bit of pity. Well done, good for you, be pat in the head, innit? And then 4 years on from that in London, it felt like people were interested and really intrigued in the stories behind why the athletes started, maybe how they became disabled, they had an accident, they were born with their condition, or people were interested in that. But once they found that out, and they kind of liked hearing a bit about people, because it's it's like you like to know about the athletes you're watching, you like to know their stories. That's why things like the Michael Jordan documentary just now, and there's one just now on Netflix. A lot of people are enjoying that so much because they want to know the characters behind the sport as well. But it definitely felt like there was more of a shift onto the sporting side of it. Mm-hmm. People starting to appreciate the level of athleticism and skill that the athletes had. And then 4 years on after that to Rio, I think it's almost like the backstory is just a tiny thing now, and it's all about the sport. Yeah. So I've seen a massive shift in the amount of time that I've been involved in it. But London was huge for that, especially in this country, being a home games. I know Luke spoke quite a lot about it with you. It was really interesting hearing his side of the story actually, because we both had similar experiences, but he did amazing in London. So it was definitely a big shift for us. And as Paralympic sport goes, with the TV coverage we had, the amount of interest from the public, I think it was a big shift forward in kind of the public's view.
So talk me through the feeling of winning at the Paralympic Games, man, because I watched, Chris and I sat last night on FaceTime just watching videos of you playing tennis, right? So mate,
what a way to spend the Monday night.
Oh, listen, I know, totally. Nothing else to do in lockdown. But see the expression in your face, man. I was sitting there just like a big smile. I'm like, go on, son. The expression in your face. So talk me through the emotions. Just because I think getting to the top of your game, do you know what I mean? It genuinely is remarkable. Do you know what I mean? And like I said, when I was watching, it was almost like the weight just lifted off your shoulders, and you're just like, come on! It was brilliant, man. So talk me through it. How did it feel?
Yeah, so if I look, I actually watched the end of that match a few days ago myself. Like you say, there's not a lot else to do, and I think it's on YouTube at 1 in the morning, just not a lot going on, and I went back and thought I don't do it very often, but sometimes I was looking through some old photos on my phone, and I saw a few pictures of my family and my friends in the stadium and stuff, and I was like, I want to go back and watch their reaction again, because to me that's the most enjoyable part of watching that video. And yeah, I think when you see the match point in Rio, the singles final, and when you see the ball land out, you see my face is just my eyes just look glazed over, and I'm like, and it reminds me a lot of in 2012 when Andy won his first Wimbledon.
Yeah.
It was 2012 or 2013.
I think
anyway,
whichever. 2013, I think he won Wimbledon.
Yeah, because he won the Olympics 2012, and then he won Wimbledon the year after. So I was really lucky. We, as in part of the wheelchair event, every day they do a draw for tickets for centre court.
Right.
So you can put your name in, and there's 16 players, and one of you randomly gets a pair of tickets for the next day.
Right.
If you're not playing, you can go and watch. So I put my name in the night before when Andy was in the final, because I wasn't playing at that point in that day, and I won the tickets. I still think it was probably a fix.
It was a fix, mate. It's totally a fix. It's totally a fix.
I'm not complaining. So I got the tickets, and I took my tennis coach at the time, Karen, who knew Andy since he was a junior. She used to coach him, and we were sitting courtside, and we caught the last 2 sets of the final. And I remember watching it live and just being so amazed by it all. And then he did sort of a lap of honour around the court after he picked up his trophy, and he walked right by us, and he was literally about 2 meters away, and Karen's going, Andy lad, Andy, and obviously this pure Scottish accent, and he's turned around and he's seen her and recognised her and come over and shook her hand, shook my hand, and the look in his face was exactly the look in my eyes when I won that point. So glazed over, it's almost like, does he actually even know where he is right now? Because there's so many emotions going on in your head, and so much going on that you just, it's just totally, it's just hard to explain. It's almost like you want to make that moment last forever, but at the same time it's so hard to really enjoy it because you just don't know what's going on. So that's exactly how I felt after that match point. And I went over and hugged Alfie at the net, who was obviously my doubles partner, who played the doubles final the day before in the same court and lost together. And then yeah, first thing I went over to a little group of my friends and family who'd travelled all the way to Rio. Who some of my mates had been there longer than me. I'm not even joking. Craig, Mikey, and Joe, three of my pals, they went over and they arrived in Rio 2 days before I arrived in Rio, and they left the day when I left. So they had an absolute ball.
I can imagine
beach, and they absolutely loved it.
I can imagine Craig having a good time over there, man. Surprised you. Aye, that doesn't surprise me. So winning Wimbledon, man, that's got to be, because I'm pretty sure, did Paul and that come down? My sister went down. Did she not come and watch?
Yeah, I seem to think half of Helen's from me. The whole of Helen's from me.
Because I remember my sister phoning me, and in the background I could hear Paul singing, and I was like, who let him out?
I think it was maybe the first and possibly only time that buckfast's been consumed in the ground of Wimbledon.
You can take the boys out of Scotland, mate. You can't take Scotland
out
of the boys.
Exactly. Some things never change.
Aye, I know. Well, you just kind of looking up going, oh God, they're embarrassing me. Everyone else is having a Pims and strawberries and all that. Pabbing up.
You know,
back with a tonic.
It was a complete opposite. I think that year, and to be honest, every year since, because I've been so well supported, like so many. That's one of the weeks that I think a lot of people look forward to in the year, because normally I can sort out quite a few tickets, and a big group of them come down, and Wimbledon's got so many traditions, and that's what sets it apart from every other event in the tennis calendar. The all whites, and the way the ball kids are trained, and just all that sort of stuff. And the grass is so iconic, and it's very polite and respectful, and I feel like they bring a wee bit of hooliganism. It's kind of a friendly hooliganism.
The Geo Ultras.
Exactly. And I think people, as much as people love the traditions, people like a little bit of a change.
Yeah.
Same way you kind of saw the Olympics when the tennis was there. Obviously we didn't play there at the Paralympics, but the Olympics in 2012, when players could wear all their own colours of their countries, and the branding was all different for the Olympics. People enjoyed seeing Wimbledon in a different way. I think people like the fact that I've got a group of people that come down and just make a load of noise and just cause a bit of chaos for a few days. And I love it. I love having them there. It creates such a great atmosphere, and it helps me through some matches. So
good,
I love it.
So when did you win your first Grand Slam then?
So I won my first doubles slam in 2015 at the French Open with Shingo Kuneda, a Japanese player. In my opinion, the best player who's ever played our sport.
Oh really?
And then yeah. So he's for me, he's like he's number one at the moment, and he was number one, or getting to number one, when I first started playing, 2005, and now he's still number one. So he's still going strong. We've kicked him off his spot a few times, but he keeps climbing back up there. So, but no, I won my first doubles slam in 2015 with him, and I won my first singles Grand Slam in Australia, in Melbourne, Australian Open 2016. Because
2016 was a big year for you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Chris described it as serial winning. He's looking like that. He's just a serial winner. So what I was going to ask you before we go into 2016 is, how do you pick a doubles partner? Or are they picked for you, or do you think, do you know what, I quite like this guy?
So it's interesting. It was really interesting actually listening to your conversation with Luke, because there's a lot of similarities between him picking his partner and me picking mine, or not even so much how you pick somebody, but how you work on that relationship and partnership, and how you improve as a team. So I mean, to answer your question, at the moment I don't have to pick my partner, because I've been playing doubles with Alfie now for, what we're in 2020, it must be about 6-7 years now. We've been playing together. So we've been playing together for a while, since he's now 21, 22. So since he was like 15, 16, we've been playing doubles together. So it's easy. It's out of our hands now. We don't need to choose because we've formed this partnership that's been pretty successful, and we know each other inside out now. So it's straightforward. But before I played with Alfie, I used to compete mainly with foreign players, and you kind of joked about it, but partly is, do I like this guy? Do I get on with him? We're going to have a bit of banter off the court as well, and enjoy our time on court, and that's a big part of it. You want to be happy and having fun as well as wanting to compete. So part of it's, do you enjoy spending time with them? Part of it's, do your games match up? Do your styles of play match up? If you've got one guy who's really aggressive and one guy's really defensive, that might be quite a good partnership because you can feed off each other. If you've got two guys that are just all out attack, could just be absolute disaster. So it's a little bit of that. But yeah, like I say, I've played with Alfie for a long time now, and we've worked a lot in our games together, and so I've done a lot of similar things to Luke and his partner, and we've done the same personality test.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, they say the same spotlight personality test where you find out who's the introvert, who's the extrovert, who's the pessimist, who's the optimist, and it's like I say, it was really interesting because a lot of things that we do are the same as them, and you want to know how your partner's going to react in the biggest moments of pressure in sport, and you need to know what makes them tick and how to get them out and pull each other through the other side. So things like that are really important to do.
Do you mentioned pressure, and I asked Luke this same question. Did you find the pressure was on you more than it would be normally going to another country as an ambassador for the sport? An ambassador for the country rather than the sport, sorry.
Yeah, I think for me, if I break down the 3 games, because we, as tennis players, we don't really compete for our country most of the time. We're just competing as individuals. You see our names with the flag next to you on the draw, but really you're there just for yourself. So obviously the once every 4 years when we play the Paralympics, it's an amazing opportunity that we don't get very often to represent your country and be part of this bigger team. So if I break down the 3 games that I've been to, Beijing 16, I think I was ranked 40 in the world, something like that. I was lucky to qualify. I got pumped first round by the guy that ended up winning the silver medal. Got pumped first round in the doubles by a team that got pumped in the second round. So didn't really achieve anything apart from getting my place in the squad, and there was no pressure whatsoever. It was purely go there, a young kid, enjoy the atmosphere, learn a bit about the experience of the Paralympics and what it means to go and be involved in it, so that when the London Games come around in 4 years' time, it won't be such a shock to the system. London comes along, I think I was ranked number 9 in the world, so really not really expected to medal, but I was starting to compete with the top players. Went there, had an amazing experience. I'm sure your sister will tell you some of the experiences that those guys had in the centre court there. 5,000 people, full court. Obviously 95% supporting me as British athlete, which all my opponents were hating, but I was absolutely loving. That was amazing, but still, I wasn't really expected to win a medal. So the pressure I felt a little bit of pressure, that the fact that there were so many people watching and supporting, but more just loved every minute of it. Just enjoyed the atmosphere and the support that we got, and gutted that I lost in the quarterfinals. Didn't have a chance. I was one win away from having a chance to fight for a medal, which was tough to take, but something that drove me on, spurred me on to the bigger things. And then Rio comes along, and I went into Rio ranked number 3 in the world, I think, but I'd won Wimbledon, I'd won the Australian Open that year, I'd made the final in Roland Garros. Me and Alfie were ranked number 2, seed number 2 in doubles, so people were expecting me and him to compete and really bring back medals. So for me, that was the biggest pressure that I felt, and the biggest pressure I probably put on myself as well. To go and actually meet those expectations. So for me, it was more about the expectations of the results rather than where I was and who I was representing, because I was representing my country in all 3 games, and that was something that's takes you have to take responsibility for and really enjoy the moment. But yeah, I think the expectation of actually succeeding and winning medals was something that I felt more pressure from.
Yeah. So 2016, we spoke about it a second ago. You just did really, really, really well in 2016. So what was that? Just a different? Were you just training? Was it a different approach mentally even that just kind of spurred you forward in 2016?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of a few things. One just being the timing was right. I think just at that stage in my career, I had a little bit more experience. I was a little bit older, a little bit more mature, as some people might say. I had a lot more experience under my belt from competing at the highest level, being at the Grand Slams, beating the top players. But really up to 2016, I felt like I was still not really performing at my best in the world's stage in the Grand Slams, which is the biggest events for us in tennis. So I started working with a new sports psychologist at the end of 2015, sort of actually the end of summer, sort of August, September time. And we just looked at different approaches that I could take to the mental side of things, different strategies and techniques I could take into all my tournaments and training to try and improve my level of performance in those big events. So I think it was a combination of quite a few things. It was that different approach and different side of the help of the psychology side. There was the more experience and just a little bit more maturity in my game and myself in general, and just improving and putting the hours in training. I think they all just kind of came together and kind of every piece in the puzzle just slotted in and just allowed me to just perform my best and compete to that level in 2016.
So you mentioned training. So what does your typical training program look like? Am I right in saying you train in Stirling? Or you train in Stirling? Yeah,
so I do most of my training in Stirling at the uni up there. So I live in Glasgow, and I do a lot of my strength and physical training in Glasgow, and I do the majority of my tennis up in Stirling.
Is it quite? I would take it it's quite an intense process. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, pretty intense. Yeah, pretty intense. Well, I mean, it's obviously my full-time job, so it's an average week. There's not many average weeks because I travel a lot and under usual circumstances anyway. I travel a lot and probably traveling more than half the year, and not very often more than 1 week in the same place. So it's an average week is not really very average at all.
I know.
But when I'm at home, which is actually one of the reasons why I've kind of enjoyed a lot of things to do with this lockdown, because just being able to have a routine and just sleep in your own bed for an extended period of time has been quite nice. So yeah, but an average week when I'm at home, the normal training is 5 or 6 days a week training, depending on the week and the training block that I'm going through. And that's a combination of the on-court stuff that I do up in Stirling, which is the technical, tactical work, and the physical training I do, which is either in the gym or I do circuit-based stuff, or just also on like a track where I do speed and agility sessions, reaction sessions. And I play a little bit of wheelchair basketball as well on the side.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I started that quite a few years ago actually. It's just one of the guys, Peter, who he actually was there for the first wheelchair tennis session I ever tried. He's probably about 30 years older than me, so he was kind of one of the more experienced guys at the wheelchair tennis club in Scotstoun, where I first tried wheelchair tennis. He's a coach, or he was a coach of this basketball team, and he was asking me for years to come and play. But I was never interested. I was like, nah, I've got my tennis, that's all I need, I don't want anything else. And then eventually I kind of gave in. I was like, this is probably going to be crap, but I'll go and try it. I went and loved it, absolutely loved it. It was so good, because I mean, I probably like yourself, when you grow up you play so much football. Football's the sport that everybody plays in Scotland, especially the west of Scotland, I think, as well. And I missed that team aspect of it that you don't get in tennis. So that was kind of what I found, that when I started playing wheelchair basketball, that I'd been missing, that kind of camaraderie, and you know, the banter that you get, and the way you can spur people on in training and motivate each other. And it's just a club that, you know, we compete in the north of Britain division, but it's just a hobby.
Yeah.
But I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And so we train twice a week for that, which is amazing for me because it helps my training, helps my fitness, helps my mobility in the chair. But it's just fun as well, and that's so important, to keep training and, you know, keep everything you're doing fun. And it doesn't feel like training; it just feels like I'm going and having a laugh. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love doing that. So it's a combination of all that stuff, and then the things that you probably don't think about, which is the physio treatment you get, the prehab and rehab, so the little exercises that aren't the big weights in the gym but that are so important to keep you healthy, and the psychology work we do, the match analysis, the massage, which is one of the good parts. And can't complain about that. But yeah, it's just a whole collective of stuff. So that was really a typical week. It's pretty full on.
Yeah, man. It's quite a machine that's in behind the whole thing, then, isn't it? Just all the different components to making you a champ, my man.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like any business, really. You need the employees behind the scenes to make the kind of machine tick, and then make it work and make it successful. And I think now actually people are starting to understand that and respect that a lot more about athletes. And you hear about people travelling with their team now that you didn't used to hear about. But there's so much goes on behind the scenes to, you know, create these athletes and create these champions that you know, wouldn't happen without the staff behind the scenes.
I was talking to Hannah Rankin about this.
Yeah.
And she was saying the same thing. She's got Gary Jacobs is in her corner. He's like a European champion and all that. And she was just talking about the amount of people that are just in behind her, pushing her forward. And I think you're right. People probably didn't know about that a while back. It's definitely become a lot more visible. I think just with, especially things like this, like podcasts and stuff like that, where you actually get to hear the opinion of this, the people who are doing the sports. Do you know what I mean? It became it's a lot more apparent.
I think the other thing as well is social media. It's helped a lot with it. I mean, for all the negatives that people can come out of social media, I think one of the great positives that have come out of it is the fact that athletes have this platform where they're verified and people know it's them. They can come out and say exactly what they mean. I mean, the amount of times that stories might be twisted in the media, or, you know, they might put a spin on the way that somebody said something. Athlete can go on their Insta and record a video saying, "Oh, this is what I actually think. Here I am," and the whole world can see it.
Yep.
And, you know, they can also give an insight into their life and their training of who they're working with and the team behind the scenes that, you know, normally, if, you know, 20 years ago or 15 years ago you wouldn't have had that. So yeah, that's one of the...
Is your doubles partner Alfie, is he from Scotland or is he from England?
So he lives in Norwich. So
how do you
pretty much the opposite side of the country.
So how do you train? How do you train with him?
Yeah, so we train a lot as part of the travelling that we do.
Right.
I spend a lot of time in London, where the National Tennis Centre is for the UK, in Roehampton. So Alfie comes there from Norwich. I go there from obviously up here in Scotland, and we have training camps there where we work on specific things, and then we also spar against each other as well, because you know, there's not a massive pool of pop wheelchair players in the country, so as much chair on chair, we call it, chair on chair training you can get is really important. So we'll go and not only train together as a team, but, you know, working stuff against each other as well. And then obviously you can do stuff you know, locally as well. When you're both at home, you can do stuff, you know, over Skype and Zoom and all those sorts of things. And you can do your little homework as well that you set each other. And then, you know, we're travelling so many tournaments together as well that we do a lot of training when we're away at events, and as we're competing we're also working through different things. So as much as we're, you know, different sides of the countries, we spend a lot of time together throughout the year still, because we're travelling to the same places.
How many tournaments a year roughly are
there? Well, I think there's around about 200 events through in our entire calendar. obviously not flying 200.
I was going to say
he'd be absolutely knackered. But no, normally for me, I'd somewhere between 18 and 22 for the year, which is all over the world.
And they're not, it's not all the same sort of surface, so how does that affect how the chair reacts to the surface? Do you have a different chair for different surfaces, or is it like a different grip or something like that?
Well, to be honest, it's not much that we change between surfaces at the moment. That's probably partly because like 80% of our events are on hard court.
Right.
So the chairs are really designed to be maximised and play your best on hard court and move your best on hard court, because that's the majority of where tournaments are taking place. Obviously, you've got Wimbledon on grass, you've got Roland Garros on clay, and a couple of other clay and grass court tournaments now that we play, like Queen's has got a wheelchair event now, and then a couple of other European clay court tournaments. So people are starting to do a little bit more research and development into changing the setup for different surfaces, because it's starting to become a little bit more important. But really at the moment the only thing we change is maybe the pressure in the tyres.
Right, okay.
And everything else is really set up the same. Although I know that some research has been done into maybe the different types of tyre, different tread, different grip. Same way as you'd change your shoes depending on whether you're or football boots, whether you're running on Astro or grass or whatever, and tennis players would change the soles of their shoes. So looking a little bit at what we can change around that. But everything else is pretty similar for the same surfaces.
So would you have a say in the design of your chair? Do you say like I like this or I like that, and then
I want a hot pink sparkly bit of colour.
LEDs and all that.
Pip my ride. No, luckily enough actually, I've worked with a British based wheelchair company called RGK. I've been sponsored by them now for I think it's probably about 5 years, and they're one of the leading companies in the world for sports wheelchairs, specifically tennis and basketball. And every single player who competes, their chair is unique to them, so it's made to measure. And I'm talking about every single measurement you can think of: the width, the length, the angle you want to sit at with the cushion, the height of the backrest, the camber of the wheels, the height off the ground. Everything that you want to change that suits your game style and gets you that balance of being able to play the best strokes as possible, but also cover the court as well as you can. So everybody has their own unique setup, so that's obviously quite a big process, especially at the start when you first start working with a new company, to really refine that and work out exactly how you want to be set up. But then actually I've had quite a bit of input with them in terms of how they kind of progress, because if you see 30 years ago, 40 years ago, there was no such thing as a sports wheelchair. There was the old hospital bangers, the side guards up here and the handles in the back, and the backrest was up at your neck. It was hard to believe that anyone could move in them at all. And now now it's like you're looking at a sports car. You know what I mean? It's really top piece of equipment. So they are obviously always looking at trying to progress their designs and take the next step forward in the equipment. So I've had a lot of conversations and really interesting ones, good discussions about what I like about the chair, what I feel could be better, what could improve, and some of those things have been pretty cool to see them sort of witness them firsthand, actually going into a design of a new chair, and it could be something that one day shapes the future of how everybody has a chair. So it's quite interesting to be a part of that.
What are they made out of?
So mine's made out of aluminium and carbon fibre.
Right, okay.
So it's a combination of both. It's really light, yeah. It's probably, the wheels are probably the heaviest thing on it actually, because the hand rims are quite heavy, and mine are like coated with paint just to make them a little bit more grippy, which actually is probably the heaviest part of the chair. The frame itself probably weighs about 5 kilos, 6 kilos, and it's really light. But yeah, the whole thing together probably weighs about 8 kilos maybe, so dead light. But it's mainly aluminium with just bits of carbon fibre around it as well. some guys do have chairs that are made full of carbon fibre, and they weigh like 3 kilos. It's
That's
ridiculous.
incredible, man.
Pick them up with one hand and chuck them out your head and stuff.
Shifting focus, man. So I wanted to talk to you about, you've got an MBE, man.
I do.
Chris and I were talking about
Those
this.
crazy things to think about, yeah.
I was like, my God, he's got an MBE. So I've never met anyone who's got an MBE before, right? So I don't really know what it entails. So how did you find out? Did somebody do you get a letter through the door? Did somebody phone you and go, listen, you have to be down at the Palace next week? So how does it work?
I mean, pretty much, yeah, pretty much. You just get a letter through the door, and it was the New Year's honours that I was included in, and yeah, pretty much got this fancy envelope through the door. Once thought I was getting an invite to Hogwarts or something. And the old stamp, the old sealed stamp in the back and stuff like that. What's going on here? And yeah, it's just a letter from Her Majesty saying you're included in the honours. Would you like to accept it? And the obvious answer to that is yes, please. And yeah, you find out a few weeks before the list is sort of revealed. I think it's on the 30th of December normally.
Have you got to keep it a secret?
And you got to keep it a secret, yeah.
Right.
So I think I told my parents and my manager, and that was about it. I think maybe one of my best mates told him, because we were actually sitting in here in my flat on the 30th when they announced it. And I remember just sitting here, just having a wee gin and tonic, just a wee cheers, and just going. That was a pretty spectacular year, and a pretty mental way to end it. So it was something, you know. Certainly not something that you ever think about when you start competing. I mean, there's a few things that have happened that I never thought would happen. But, you know, even when you're going through your career and starting to have some success, you still don't imagine things like that will ever come across. The same way, actually, is one of the most crazy things that happened to me in part of my career, is that I was told that a Lion Cub was going to get named after me.
What?
So, I'm sure you know Blair Drummond Safari Park.
Of course.
Not far from Helensburgh. Well, I got a message from them in 2016 in the summer saying, "Hi Gordon, hope you're doing well. Just to let you know." Yeah, I'm going, what are these guys messaging me for? This is proper random, this. Just to let you know, one of our lions has had 4 cubs, and they gave birth to them on the weekend that you and Andy won Wimbledon.
Oh.
So there's two boys, 2 girls. We decided to name one of them Murray after Andy, and we ran a competition and we asked the public what we should name the other 3, and they were like, overwhelmingly they said they should name the second boy Reid, because, you know, you won Wimbledon the same weekend. And I was like, this is mental. And I said, do you want to come and meet him? I was like, absolutely, 100%. So I went, and it was actually about, I think it was about 2 days before I flew out to Rio for the Paralympics. I went up to Safari Park, and the cubs were about, I think they were around 2 months old at this point. So still small, but still a wee bit ferocious. And remember my coach thinking, this is not a good idea. You're going to come here, have to pull out the Paralympics with your arm ripped off or something. But I went along and met these cubs. You know, I went in before the safari park had opened, before the public were allowed in. You know, went straight up to the enclosure where the lions were. You know, they were all still in their cages. And they basically said, right, we're going to get him out and get a few pictures of you next to him and stuff. So I was like, this is crazy. But they actually, it was nuts, because the way that they had to do it was, obviously the 4 cubs were in with the mum in her cage, so they had to separate the mum from the cubs, obviously, to get them out of the cage. So the part of this cage is that they've got a sort of separation in the middle of it. It's a big cage, so they were all on the left hand side, so they had to get the mum to come over to the right hand side of the cage to get the separator down to get the cubs out, which is how they obviously do all the medical treatment of them, of the cubs, and how they check them and all that. So the mum had wisened up to us at this point. It happened enough times that she was like, "Hi, a bit of meat. Aye, right. I know exactly what you're gonna do here." So she wouldn't go over. She's like, "Oh, what's gonna go on here?" And the whole time you've got like the other lions that are like, pacing around their cage, staring you down. I'm going, if any defaults here, I'm in trouble. So the way they had to do it was one of the handlers had to go to the other side of the cage and stand with his back to the cage. And she, as a lion, sees that as a target and a prey. And when he turns his back, she's like, "Now's my time to pounce," because he's not looking. So she pounces at the cage, off that side of the cage, going for this guy. Obviously, he's on the other side of the fence, so he's all right. But that's the way that they had it. And then they slide down the. Yeah, and it was a crazy experience. It was really intense. And you could hear, you can't see inside that separated part, but you could just hear the clatter, and she's just banging against the enclosure, and I'm going, "This is a bit weird. I don't know why I like this." Like get this line out, and I'll get a quick picture of them, and then get him back in because this is not right. Yeah. But no, it was fine. It was good. We got out and got wee pictures with them, and then we all returned to mum. No harm done. But no, it's just one of those mental things.
Did Andy go up and meet his cub?
I don't think he did. I've been back a few times since, actually, because they're still there. They're all still there, and I've taken some of my family that's come over to visit from Australia and stuff to go and see them because they've got wee kids, and they're like, "Oh, go see Reid, the lion." And they're an absolute beast now. I wouldn't be going anywhere near them anyway. But yeah.
So you mentioned the year that you and Andy both won Wimbledon, when it was that pure Scottish clean sweep, man. We're not a nation that's probably known for tennis. What the hell happened that year?
I honestly don't know. Andy, you've obviously got Andy, you've got Jamie.
So do you know those boys quite well?
I know them pretty well, yeah. I know them pretty well. Obviously I don't see that much of them because they're competing full time, travelling a lot. I'm travelling a lot, and the only events that we really cross over are the Grand Slams, and occasionally see each other either up in Stirling or down in London when they're training at the National Tennis Centre. And the thing is that when we were at the Grand Slams, we're obviously there to do a job. We're there to try and win, not there to just mess about with your mates. So people obviously a lot of the time have a game face on, and they're really focused and in the zone. So you don't really obviously get a lot of chat, and it's not that relaxed to catch up with people. So the opportunities outside of those events where I get to see them, I really cherish, because you can have a proper catch up and enjoy a bit of conversation. Whereas in the slams, it's a bit more of the general and passing, a bit of polite chat, but that's about it, because you're both. I just
thought because you were both for Scotland, there would be the nod, like, let's get to these buggers. Do you know what I mean?
I think there is that. It's pretty cool when you're in Australia, or when you're in New York, or when you're in Paris or Wimbledon, and you get into the locker. You share all the same lockers and physical places and stuff. When you're obviously keeping an eye on each other's results, and when you see somebody's just like had a big win or a big result, you just walk by and you go,
"Go on, son!
Come on, let's go!" And obviously, like that moment after a big win is a lot of times the first big release of emotion behind the scenes. So once all the celebrations have been done on court, come behind and into the lockers, and they see their team, the real side of it. And sometimes you're there right next to you, go, come on, you're like getting involved. Like, I've done absolutely nothing to help you. Come on.
But we're for the same place.
Exactly.
So actually, you said that about the game faces. Do the players, I kind of get it, like, tennis is like a gentleman's sport. I just kind of thought that in behind the scenes everyone was all just high fives and just being friendly to each other. Is it really that, just like staring at the floor, focused, nobody's really interacting with anyone before the games and stuff?
It's a mixture, really. So you've got that side of things, especially in the real last few minutes before people are going on to centre court, to play for the biggest prizes in tennis. And there's some players that have so much intensity, it's scary. Like probably Nadal's the biggest one.
Rafa, man,
yeah. I mean, I'm sure you've watched Rafa many a time. You know what he's like. He's like an absolute, he's like a caged animal just been released to go and absolutely murder his opponent. When he's allowed out on court, but it starts in the build up and been pretty lucky to see some of that firsthand, and you know, the little routines that he goes through, and you know, he does not stop moving for about 20 minutes before the match, half an hour in the lockers. He's running around the lockers, he's jumping, he's doing all sorts of things. Yeah, he's just always non-stop on the go, and you can feel it in the air, you can feel the tension, you can feel the atmosphere changing before a big event like that. But saying that, you know, there's other side of things as well. You know, like I say, normally after the matches, when people are doing the recovery or they might have a day off in between matches, you see the kind of more chilled out side of people, and there's a lot of banter flies about, and people, you know, taking the piss out of each other and watching the other matches and having a laugh at that. And it's pretty cool to see that side of people as well, that you know you might not always see in the media spotlight.
I can imagine Roger Federer just before a game just sitting about sipping a soy latte, just being dead chilled out, man. Because he's just like the happiest man in the world. He's still got a big smile on. Do you know what I mean?
I know, yeah. There's still an air. I think, you know, a few players have it, but Roger more than anybody. You know, when he walks into the lockers, or if he walks into the restaurant, the player restaurant, you know, these are all professional players, but you can feel it shift. You can feel everyone going, "There's Roger, guys." Watch what he's saying. There's Roger. There's a big dog there. But no, he's a great guy. You know, I've been lucky to spend a bit of time with him recently.
Oh, really?
As well, because because he is sponsored by Uniqlo now.
Right, okay.
And I'm sponsored by Uniqlo. I've been with Uniqlo for 3 years now. So we've done a couple of events and been around each other a little bit more, which has been pretty cool. The best one, one of the most amazing things that I've experienced in my tennis career. It's probably two events, which are the biggest things I've done in tennis. One was right after Rio in 2016. It was actually the day after I got home at the Hydro, which is about 500 metres away from my flat. Andy Murray had his charity event. Don't know if you did you see it? Yeah, he had it in 2016 the first time, and he invited me along to be a part of it. I didn't really know what that meant until the day of the event. I thought, you know, I just got my couple of tickets, you know, come and watch, and maybe, you know, watching them behind the scenes and stuff. And he said, just bring your tennis chair and your rackets, you know, just in case. So
just in case a street game breaks out outside.
In case somebody gets injured, maybe it fell in. But no, I said, you know, just bring it along, we'll see what happens. And then we got there, and they were going through the plan of the day, and said, right, what's going to happen is we're going to have a singles match first, where Andy, I think it was actually originally supposed to be Roger, but he had to pull out injured. So it was Grigor Dimitrov who ended up coming in. So it's like, Andy's going to play Dimitrov in singles, and then they're going to go off, and then Andy and Jamie are going to play Dimitrov and Tim Henman in doubles.
Oh wow. And
we've got a few special guests, and we're going to sub them in, and you're going to be one of them. I was like, quality, that's amazing. I was like, this is going to be brilliant. So I went, and like we had a bit of a warm up on the court, and like Andy comes on. It was the first time I'd ever shared a court with Andy, so it was amazing, really cool to just be practicing with him and Jamie and Tim and everybody. And then sat courtside, watched the whole match. There's 10,000 people in the Hydro, which is unbelievable. Atmosphere was electric. And then the doubles came on, and I think about, it was like 3-all in the first set. Jamie goes, guys, bit tired here, I got a bit of a stitch or something like that. He's like, you got any subs? And I was like, that's my cue. So I'm like, get aside the court, getting on as fast as I can. They were like, make sure you wear your gold medals. I also had my gold medal on. Go on the court, and then announce like, we're going to have a substitution, ladies and gentlemen. Jamie Murray will be substituted by Gordon Reid. And the crowd went mental.
Yes.
Something that I will never forget. It'll stick with me for the rest of my life. 10,000, probably well intoxicated at this point, Glaswegians and Scottish people going absolutely nuts when they hear your name. And then, you know, the plan was that Andy had his gold medal in his tennis bag. So I'd come on, I'd give him a bit of a wave and go, Andy, do you not have one of these as well? And he's like, yeah, I do. So he went over, he went into his tennis bag, got it out, and then we had this moment where the two of us were there, kind of showing off our gold medals to the crowd, and it was just something really special. It's just obviously you remember the big moments in matches and winning titles, but that's something which, you know, I was with Andy is a hero of mine. You know, I grew up watching him as a kid, so So to be able to share that experience with him in front of Scottish people was amazing. So that, and then last year I went to Tokyo with Uniqlo, and we did an event in the Olympic Stadium there, which was 10 or 12,000 people, Japanese fans who love their tennis. And it was Federer, me, Shingo, was the guy I was talking about earlier, wheelchair player. He's sponsored by Uniqlo as well. And then there are other ambassadors, and we played to Roger on centre court there, which was a nerve-wracking experience. I was absolutely shitting it, but it was an amazing experience as well. Spent a lot more time with him, you know, off court as well, and it was really cool to just get to know him a little bit better. And,
what's he like as a guy? Is he as charismatic as he comes across like on the telly?
Yeah, 100%. He's a really nice guy, really polite, really friendly, really interesting guy. He's got a lot of time for you, you know. Same with Andy. You know, if I speak with Andy, they never talk about themselves. All they want to do is find out what you've been up to, and they've got so many questions that they're genuinely interested about. Things to do with the wheelchair side of the game, and you know, things to do with me personally, and you know, it's a couple of really good guys.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So, what are you going to do after you stop competing? What's the plans?
Well, the honest answer to that is not a clue at the moment. I'm not too sure. Yeah, hopefully I'll be still competing for a number of years to come. Of course. That's the plan anyway, definitely. Go on to the Paris Paralympics anyway in 2024, and then see where that takes me after that. But you know, there's a few options. I think you know, I'd love to still be involved in the sport in some capacity. It's given me so much in my life, wheelchair tennis, that I would love to stay involved and help out and give back a little bit in some sort of way, whether that's coaching or in the admin side. I don't know. It could be anything. So I'd love to do that, and you know, I really enjoy doing work with the media that I've done in the past. I've really enjoyed the radio and TV stuff I've done, so there might be potential to go down some sort of route that direction. And then I might do something completely different.
Really?
I might go to uni and study again. Cause I went to uni for about 6 months, maybe five months after I left school. I had a bit of a panic that my dad's an accountant and he's a very sensible guy. He's got his head screwed on. Sometimes I don't.
Aye.
So he's often the words of wisdom in my head. And when I was leaving school, he was going, no, what have you done? You know, what if you can't make money with tennis? What if you can't pay your bills and you need something to fall back on? You should go and study. And I was blind panic when I left school. All my pals were going to uni and I had nothing to back up apart from hitting a few tennis balls. So I went to Stirling for about 6 months and studied psychology. So I'd maybe go back and do something like that as well. So there's a few options open. But
I could see you doing the telly and radio stuff. I could see that. Just commentating at Wimbledon and all that sort of stuff. You and Johnny McEnroe. Do you know what I mean?
I'd love it, yeah. Cannot be serious.
The one that Chris has written something down here, right? Kind of hurts a wee bit, right? Because we have got a mutual love in life, which is the Glasgow Rangers, right?
100%.
Do you still go to home games and stuff like that?
You know what? I'd say actually, this season and last season is probably the most I've ever gone.
Yeah. Stevie G, man, just brought everyone back through the door.
Yeah, partly that, and I think partly because I live so close to Ibrox now. It's right on my doorstep, which I love. And then also I've got a pretty good relationship with the club now. So.
Oh really?
You know, they invited me onto the pitch at Ibrox a couple of times to go on at half time, which was amazing because. Probably the same as you. And a lot of kids growing up.
I'm so jealous, mate. I'm so jealous.
That's your dream, isn't it? That's your dream when you're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, and grew up watching Rangers play every week, and my dad used to take me when I was younger, and that was my dream, to walk out in front of 50,000 there and play for the club. So obviously when the way my life panned out, that wasn't going to be an option. You know, when I had my successes and the club asked me to come along be presented at half time.
Oh wow, man.
Do an interview at the pitch side was incredible, because it was obviously not the same roar as you get as a player, but you still had an amazing reception.
You still walked onto Ibrox with a full house, man. That's a dream. It's a dream, man.
Yeah,
I had
it's
that
a dream come true.
Oh man, because I went to all the European qualifiers. So I was there at the Legia Warsaw game when Alfredo Morelos scored in the 90th minute, man.
I was there as well.
I swear to God, the place went mental. There was like people falling over the top of me, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
And that was the game when they let the flares off, and then the game gets stopped halfway through because they couldn't see. But so what Chris has written down here is, how does it feel to be Sevco's best achievement in 2016? He's an arsehole.
You can't resist it, can you?
No.
You can't resist it. I knew there'd be something like that.
But it's good that you've got a good relationship with the club, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was reading something on Twitter earlier, actually. It's one of the football accounts that I follow, and it's been going through all the days that we've had without football now, and they've been coming up with a statistic for the number of days without football, and then a number that correlates to stat that correlates to the number, and today's 54 days without football, and the stat is 54 league titles, most successful in the world. So enjoy listening to that, Chris.
Yes, you. That is cool.
But no, it's brilliant. I absolutely, like I say, we're both in the same boat. Loved Rangers whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to have a relationship with the club and be able to go and watch pretty much any time that I want is brilliant, because it doesn't make sense for me to have a season ticket, because I'm not here enough to use it, and it'd be a waste. Somebody else would enjoy it more than me, but the club do most they can to get me along to games. And I went, actually, it was my first time. It's bad, being 28, but it's my first time last year going to an away game in Europe.
Oh really?
I went to Porto. Yeah, I went to the Porto game. My friend Thomas. Yeah, and it was spectacular. It was unbelievable. Just the whole atmosphere and the fact that it just took over the city.
Yeah.
And there was just like Rangers fans everywhere you looked. And the game, we got a good draw against them as well. It was brilliant, man. I loved it.
Yeah.
And just signs of the times that we're getting back to where we belong.
Well, that's very much the case. I think because I've never been. The only kind of away European game I've ever been to was I was at Manchester.
A pretty good choice. Pretty good one to choose.
Kicked off.
Apart from the result.
Mate, I swear to God, I went down. It was like every Mancunian just get the hell out of Manchester, and you're just like walking down the street with just a sea of blue, and you're like bumping into people you knew. So you'd be like, "Oh, Stevie," it was incredible, man. It was incredible. Actually, do you know, I watched an interview you did. I think it was Transworld Sport or something. And they showed a photograph of you, and you get your Rangers top on, and you were like with Stefan Kloss and all the old.
From when I was in hospital.
Yeah, man, that must have been amazing. They're like the real. See, when you think of the Rangers team, it's that era that I kind of most nostalgic about.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the pretty cool things that's happened since the lockdown is, because there's obviously no live sport and no sport to talk about at the moment, there's been a lot of historical things being kind of released in the videos and the old games and stuff like that, clips, and seeing all the players that I grew up with watching, and the ones that were my heroes, Alberts and your Michael Moles and your Ali McCoy and all those guys, and seeing all the clips of them. And for me, being in hospital, which was obviously the toughest time in my life, and having the Rangers team come in, who are my heroes, because they do it every Christmas. They go in the children's hospital. Celtic team do it as well. They go in and they visit the kids and they bring in presents and they meet all of them, give them the autographs and get pictures. And for me, it was something amazing, because it's the worst time to be stuck in hospital was at Christmas, when all you want to do is be at home with your family, and to have your heroes come in and meet you and just cheer you up and just give you a smile when you really don't feel like it's really important. So it's amazing to see that they still do that, and I think it's probably quite a humbling experience for a lot of players as well, because it's normally quite eye-opening. Yeah,
because I think Fernando Rickson was there as well, man, and it's just mate, I swear to God, it's heartbreaking, man, like genuinely heartbreaking.
You look back at those pictures and some of the videos that have come out of it, him playing, and it's just absolutely horrible what he went through, but just at the same time just summed up everything about his character, the way that he was fighting it and dealt with it all the way to the end. And you know, the way you saw the reaction from the players when it was all finished, you know how much he was adored and loved by all the fans.
It was across the Old Firm divide as well. It wasn't just exclusive to the Rangers following. Do you know what I mean?
Well, there's some things in life that transcend sport, isn't there? And transcend that rivalry, and that's one of them.
It's hard to see that across the Old Firm divide sometimes, though, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you're just. It's hard to. I mean, I find it hard to accept that my best friend's one of them. Do you know what I mean? So.
100%. I mute the group chat that's got Paul in it anytime we play Celtic. Can't be dealing with that.
No, man. I know, it's awful, man. It's awful. Because I think the thing with the Rangers team, a lot of them would have stayed in Hillsborough at the time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it was more so back then, wasn't it?
Yeah. Because I think George Albert's has still got a house between Cardross and Hillsborough.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I knew there was quite a few of them. Obviously, Walter was down there as well, and still is. See Walter quite a lot at the games actually, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just a fellow Helensburgh lad. So, it's just it's pretty. There's always been that sort of link between Helensburgh and Rangers. That.
I remember Brian Laudrup.
A bit of a random one.
Brian Laudrup his daughter used to go to nursery with my sister, and in Cardross, and I used to see them like, I'd be like, that's fucking Brian Laudrup. Just like starstruck. I think I must have been about 10 or something.
Look at his hair; it's magnificent.
Oh no, man! He was superb. I think it's going to be a while before we get players like that back at Ibrox, sadly.
Yeah, fortunately, but that's just the way it is at the moment in Scotland. I think in general.
I know, mate.
Got a lot of money here.
I know. It is what it is. Anyway, Gordon, we'll call it a day there, mate. But listen, thank you very much.
We can sit and talk about football all day.
I know, mate. Poker like that. Fucking hell, man. It's two guys moaning about Rangers. But listen, thanks very much for coming on and talking to me, mate. You've lived one hell of a life, mate. Well, I say lived. It's not over. Do you know what I mean?
It was a pleasure, mate. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Not a problem at all.
Catch up.
Yeah, man, totally. Right, okay, guys. Hit those like and subscribe buttons. See ya.